So he still has the bike. I'm gonna find out if he's got time to meet today. I've got the truck so I can get a tow dolly, put the bike on there in case I need to, and we can take it this way. That is if we can reach a deal. I'm also gonna call UHAUL, the local one that I have here, and find out if they have a motorcycle dolly that I can rent from them for a day.
So I do have a motorcycle trailer today. The rate on it's only $14.95. If you want, I can hold it for you. We just ask which credit or debit card would you like to use to reserve it, but we don't charge or hold the card to reserve it. Just makes the process a bit quicker.
It's okay. I've done it a couple times before.
Alright, thank you, sir.
Alright, thanks, man. UHAUL always wants you to reserve one for whatever reason. It's probably better if you do that, then when you get there, you have everything you need. Okay, we're on our way. We're about an hour out right now. I left UHAUL about 30 minutes ago, and they had a motorcycle dolly in stock, just like they said they did. We got it hitched up, paid $16 for it. I have the hitch, the adapter, I've got ratchet straps, so there wasn't much more they could sell me on besides just what I came for, which once you go to UHAUL once, every other visit is a little easier. See if we can leave with a bike that actually, I know it's salvageable, but I want it to be a good project that I can work on and not dump too much money into it. He's got it listed for originally $1,000, and then he had a second listing for $850. So I never go off of whatever they originally listed it for. Whatever they have the price set, the most recent price, which in this case is $850, we're going to go off of that. The seller also mentioned that the biggest issue with the motorcycle is the gas tank being rusty and full of holes. He said he was going to try to fix it. I don't really know how he was going to fix it. It probably is salvageable, but to be honest, because of the risk involved with a leaky gas tank and the rust inside, it makes most sense for me to just replace the gas tank with one that's a little bit better quality and maybe reline the new gas tank. I partnered with a motorcycle shop nearby, and they kind of agreed with me, and they mentioned that it's time to replace that tank. I'm curious to see what you guys think about the bike. How much would you be offering for this bike if you had the opportunity to buy it? Knowing what it's going on with it, the gas tank being rusty, the holes in the gas tank, the bike is very old. I'm not sure when the last time the carburetors were rebuilt, all the O-rings being replaced and checked out overall. Definitely just not because of the age, but the fact that the gas tank has the rust that it has to cause those holes leads me to believe that some of that rust might have gotten down into the carburetor, so they're going to have to be cleaned out and potentially rebuilt, at least looked at. Going into this with unknowns, how much would you be willing to offer for the bike? I know what my starting offer will be depending on if anything changes when I see the bike. I brought some tools with me. I can check out maybe the condition of the spark plugs. I'm not sure how healthy the battery might be if it's been sitting for a while. The tires might need to be replaced as well, front and back, depending on how long they've been sitting, what the age is, how much tread is left on them. So there's a lot of things to consider. If I were to buy, let's say, the bike for what he's selling it for, $850, and then put $1,000 into it, I could also just buy another bike on Facebook or on Craigslist for that amount of money. I'm really hoping not to spend in total more than $1,000 for the bike. I mean, buying the bike and servicing it to get it back into running condition reliably. If I spend anything more than that, it's not going to be worth keeping it. I'm probably not going to record the conversation I have with the seller there. I want to make sure that I have enough time to thoroughly check out the bike, get to know the seller a little bit, find out the story behind the bike, because I'm always into hearing about how the bike made its way to him. And just remember that I forgot to print out a bill of sale. The state provides a nice format for a bill of sale. It's got plenty of information for the seller and the buyer to fill out to make it seem more official. If the seller and I write up some makeshift bill of sale and it's missing some information, it may mean having to come back to the seller, or it may mean not being able to register the bike at all. talking with the guy, checking out the bike. It was a lot worse in person than it was in the listings. And so a couple things. It needs new tires. The front was just, it had holes in it, it was destroyed. Back tire was dry rotted as well, so we need to replace that. The battery was recently replaced by the previous owner, according to him. It looked like just a conventional, traditional battery, which needs distilled water, which is fine. He had the key, I plugged it in, turned the key, it was dead, so we hooked it up to jumper cables on his truck, and the headlight turned on. Turn signal on the left wasn't flashing, and the right turn signal wasn't flashing at all. Horn worked, which was really cool. The headlight worked, the brights was working as well. Then I tried to use the kickstart. It felt like it had compression. I took the plugs out. They were pretty fouled up. The cylinder number 1 plug was firing. I could see spark. And cylinder number 2 plug, it wasn't throwing any spark. So I flipped the plugs, put them on the different cables, and it was firing just fine. So it looks like it was just a bad plug on cylinder number 2. The gas tank, yeah, it was in bad shape. It looked like it had been shot with birdshot. Someone had actually walked into it and shot it with a gun. On the top, on the bottom, there were just holes everywhere. The rust had completely destroyed the inside. So I told him, hey, this is gonna need to be replaced very plainly, and he agreed. So the seat was in great condition. The bike overall was dingy, was dirty, but I mean, it had dust, dirt sitting. It probably needed to be cleaned. The odometer read about 4,000 miles, so I don't know how realistic that is, but that's what it is. The bike seemed to shift gears fine, so from first up to the 5th gear, it seemed to be fine. 5th gear was a little weird, because when I put it in 5th gear, it seemed that the bike was in neutral for some reason, but after a little bit of rolling, it finally clicked into 5th gear, so I don't know what's up with that. It doesn't seem to have a center stand, which I don't understand, but that's fine. I asked him if I could make him an offer. He said sure. I told him I was going to offer way less than 800, nothing close to that, because it's not worth that in the condition that it's in. After some head scratching, and I told him I could offer you 250. He was very serious and said no, he's at 5. So he came from 850 down to 5. Shook my head. I told him it's probably going to be a better bike for someone else at that price, but not for me, especially with all the work that I have to put into it. We went to the backyard because he wanted to show me his metal polishing shop. We were talking about it. He has a metal polishing shop, and I found it very interesting, and I wanted to take a look at it. Saw his current project, saw his workstation, his operation, and that was it. I walked back. He walked back. We walked past his front porch where the bike was sitting. I looked at him. He looked at me. We had a moment, and I told him I'm at 300. He said 325, and it's yours. So, it's mine. For the past 2 hours, I've been pulling a 1972 Honda CL175. And I'm super excited to get this home. I'm almost there. Get it unloaded, throw it in the garage, take this darn U-Haul trailer back where I got it from. Okay, we've got the bike off of the truck, and now you can actually take a look at what it looks like. So the biggest highlight, the seat just looks amazing. It's in great condition. Everything else is kind of iffy, so definitely got a lot of surface rust on the chrome, on the metal anywhere. The rim. Airbox is intact, which I always love. So this is that tire I was talking about. This one doesn't look awful, but it's definitely cracking in some places, and I feel more comfortable just replacing it. Yeah, it's definitely dry rotted. So, got the kickstart that I've been looking for in an old Honda. Got our original carburetors in there. Don't like carburetors, but hey, they're old, they're simple. Hopefully they're a little easier to work on. It's a 2-cylinder, and since this is the CL, the exhaust, which is very rusty, loops up and over, and that's why it has that kind of slick look. It's a scrambler. The front tire, this is the one that's just, oh no, it's just awful. So that needs to be replaced. The front brakes are not very strong. The rear brakes seem pretty strong. I definitely need to address that. Let's talk about the elephant in the room, which is this just horrendous looking gas tank. Those black dots, those are all the holes that this tank has all over. It looks like someone shot it. it most definitely looks like someone shot it. And if we take a look inside, it doesn't look good. We are not keeping this tank, but it's the original tank that came with the bike, from what I understand, so it means something. This is the damage that I noticed. It's the sensor for detecting when you've actually pulled the front brake. That's what would trigger the tail light, but in this case it's snipped and it doesn't work. Our throttle is very sticky. It's not responsive very well, so I wouldn't be surprised if these are the original cables from the 70s. Our clutch seems to respond if you got some play up in the front, which we should have, and then smacks back pretty well. But there's the crown jewel right there, 4,594 miles. I don't know if it's real or not, but I guess we'll find out. That seems to click too. Nice. I didn't even test that. Nice. No oil pressure light on this bike, so I guess they didn't have it. So we've got our neutral light, our turn signal indicator, and that little guy there's a light. It will light up when I have the high beams turned on. So yeah, not a bad looking bike. Up close it looks awful, but overall everything is there. And then there's that exhaust that stands out when you're riding around. This just looks really freaking cool. There's no center stand for some reason. There's a grab bar, and I always thought if there was a grab bar, you'd have a center stand, but maybe for the passenger. I'm not really familiar with that. I'm not sure what we're gonna do with it. We might hold on to it. We might fix it up and sell it, but we've got a lot to do on it. We've got brakes to do. This chain looks awful. It's really tight too. It's like a bike chain almost. We've got tires, brakes. Need to do an oil job on there, get these carbs off of there. We definitely need to get gas tank. That's the priority right now. Front tire, we gotta fix that brake light. So we got a lot of stuff that we can do on this bike. And I hope to see it running. I hope you guys get to stick around long enough to see it running, and I hope I don't get too frustrated with it there. So if you guys enjoyed this style of video, let me know. It was interesting. I've never done it before, and I have gone many times on the road to find bikes, cars, and it's interesting to see where the journey starts. And now that we've got the bike in the garage, now the real work begins. So stay subscribed if you want to follow up with any of the videos that I post out on it. Give me some information in the comments. Do you think this was a good buy? Do you think I made a mistake? And do you think I maybe have an addiction problem that I need to address? I've got a lot of bikes, a lot of cars, so maybe that's the reality there. Let me know. If you enjoyed the video, give us a like. I'll see you in the next one.